東京新聞によると、石破首相は7日、衆院本会議の代表質問で、マイナ保険証について問われ、現行の健康保険証の新規発行終了につきましては、法に定められたスケジュールにより進めていきますと明言した。1ヶ月前、マイナ保険証と現行の健康保険証との併用も選択肢として当然と言っていたのは何だったのか。総裁選後からこれまでの数日間でいくつもの手のひら返し発言が話題になってきたが、就任後の所信表明や会見などでは本気の国民目線は感じられない。衆議院総選挙後、憲法改正にかかる緊急事態条項の行方が気にかかる。感染症の大流行や大規模災害などが発生した場合に、国が自治体に必要な指示ができる特例を盛り込んだ改正地方自治法がすでに成立している。これまで法律では地方自治体と国家は対等で、国が何かしたら条例で自分を守ることができた対等だったが、今回の地方自治法改正だと何かしらの非常時緊急事態条項に似ているが、国の言うことが上になるモデルになっている。これは憲法そのものを改正する準備みたいなもので、地方で生き残る。国がダメなことをしていても地方で細々と生き残っていくことさえ潰す。ウイルスや災害などが起こった時は国の言うことを聞かなければならない。感染症とか全部そうだけれど、必要な指示ができるとした特例が盛り込まれています。緊急事態条項はもともと自民党の改憲草案から始まっている。憲法は立憲主義、法律は我々市民や国民を守る。だから道交法で罰金を払わないといけない。憲法は権力者や王様の横暴から国民を守るためのもの。歴史の失敗を繰り返さないためにできたものが憲法。それを簡単に変えるのはよろしくない。もし変えるとしても、それは国民の総意のもとに変えるというのでなければおかしい。自民党が中心で作った草案は権力者が好き勝手にできるような改正内容になっている。基本的人権の条項も削ってるし、集会の自由も大部分削っている。国益に反してやっていけないということになっている。文民統制といって総理大臣が軍人ではダメなんですが、退役軍人ならできると書かれている。それだけでも問題なんですが、そこに4項目が追加されたうちの一つが緊急事態条項です。何かしら緊急事態が起こると政府に全権力を委ねるというもの。閣議決定で自由に決められる。それが条例や法律と同じ効力を発するようになる。それは緊急事態宣言が解かれるまで無制限に行われる。これはつまり独裁。アメリカにも戒厳令みたいなものもあるけれど、すごく条件が厳しく、戒厳令が解かれる状況になればすぐに解かなければならない。それも短時間で決めるモデルがある。今の日本の緊急事態条項はそういうことが全く提言されていない。ストッパーが微塵もない。ナチスは緊急事態条項をうまく使ってできた。震災とかテロについて日本では別な法律があってそれで対処できる。実際には緊急事態条項はいらない。権力者の権力を強くしたい思惑があって導入しようとしている。このようなことを言うと大げさに聞こえるが、実際にカナダの国で起きたことをジャーナリストの我那覇雅子さんがインタビューしているので、その一部をご覧ください。
Against this tyrannical government and try to protect Canada. And the courage that showed to the world encouraged many of us, including Japan. He was a volunteer
Yes.
of a truckers convoy.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for taking this time to, come to Canada and learn about this country and to meet everybody. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so honored. And so today, I would like to learn about what is happening in Canada and how people like you are trying to protect your country and what you are doing and what we can do from your experience. So first of all, could you please tell about yourself so that we can learn how serious it was?
Sure. I was a Canadian Army officer. I retired in 2015 as a captain in the Canadian Army. And immediately after leaving the military, I went back to school and I did a degree in software. And then I began teaching. I became a college teacher in 2019. And my life was great. You know, I was very happy. I was very satisfied. Actually, I was excited to go to school and to teach. And in March of 2020, when the pandemic hit and Canada, as well as the rest of the world, went into lockdowns, everything had changed. And 2 years later, because I was still teaching online at home to all of my students, my college that I was teaching at implemented a vaccine mandate and threatened us and said, if you don't take the vaccine, you're going to be fired. So I refused, and I wrote an email, a long email back to the school, and I copied a lot of the faculty and the staff at the school on my email. And I said, you don't have the legal authority to do what you're doing, or even to make this threat. And as a result, I was fired because I sent the email. I was fired with cause. I wasn't fired because I was a bad teacher. I was fired because I refused to allow my employer to tell me that I have to undergo a medical intervention. And it doesn't meet the basic standards of informed consent. So therefore, I believed the law was on my side. My union, because we have a teachers union here, they did nothing for me. They didn't help me. In fact, I think they actually stood in my way. So I ended up I was unemployed, sold my house, moved very far away from where I was. And a few months later, the trucker convoy started, and I wasn't one of the ones who started the convoy. I came in after. So in January of 2022, actually January 28th, 2022, the convoy arrived from all over, from both the east and the west coast of Canada, in the north and the south. They all converged on Ottawa on the 28th of January 2022. So the convoy was there, but I wasn't part of it. And through a friend to see if I could help out with logistics. And in that conversation, 22 days, my bank accounts were frozen under the Emergencies Act.
Because you participated?
Yes, because I was there. Because I became one of several spokespeople during the convoy. And I was negotiating a lot with the police. I was speaking to the police. I was speaking to the City of Ottawa officials. And because I was known by the government for my participation, my bank accounts were one of the ones that were frozen. And on top of my bank accounts being frozen, my name was on a special list of about 40 of us that was given to every bank in the world by Canada. Bank of China, Bank of Japan, Bank of America, Wall Street, Bay Street, Bank of England, Bank of India. All the banks were sent a notification from the government of Canada saying, if these people have bank accounts with you, freeze their assets immediately.
Wow.
And this is all done under something called FinTrack, which was something that the Canadian government implemented to track terrorist, international and domestic terrorism. So financing of terrorism or organized crime. So this is a very powerful tool that the Canadian government has to go after real criminals, not people like me who were exercising we have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada, and Section 2 guarantees my right to peacefully assemble, to protest, which is what we did. We did it peacefully, and we did it safely, and we did it very responsibly. But the government still decided to punish all of us. So when my bank account was frozen, there wasn't a warrant for my arrest, and I wasn't charged. So they went right after my financial assets. They went after my crypto. They went after all of my bank accounts, my credit card. They went after my ex-wife's credit.
Really?
Yes, her credit score dropped 109 points in a day.
What's a credit card score?
Yeah, like your we have each person has a credit score. So if you apply for a loan at the bank, they look at your score, and if your score's too low, they don't give you a loan. If your score is really high, you get you'll get a loan. So, since that time, I have written a book. You've got it here. I wrote a book about my experience at the convoy, everything from my perspective, what happened, what we did, what the government did, what the police did. And I know it sold one copy in Japan. I know one copy was sold. So I know Amazon can send you a book. If the government, when they vaccinated people, and if you were injured, they're not helping anybody. So, it's up to us to try to continue to help Canadian citizens. And it's very difficult because even myself, I cannot find a job. I've been looking for a job for over a year. But in Canada, nobody will give me a job. I'm a software developer. I've been looking every week. I send out multiple resumes and nobody will even call me to give me a job. So, there's a lot of support for the convoy in Canada and in the United States, but there's also a lot of opposition to the convoy. A lot of Canadians still, they watch the state broadcaster, which is the CBC. They listen to them and they fall for it. And so we're not getting, more and more Canadians are not waking up, it seems like. So it's been difficult to be here, to continue to push back. So after the convoy, one of the ways I stayed involved is there was an election in Ontario for the Ontario government at the provincial level. So I ran as a candidate in the election, and I didn't come anywhere near getting enough votes. Like, it wasn't even close. But I still tried. I often speak publicly about, raise a lot of these issues, a lot of things that are happening in Canada, because people, Canadians are very, very docile. Very, they don't want to be bothered.
Want to be left alone.
They want to be left alone. And they just want to go to work, watch hockey, spend time with their families, and they want to be left alone. They don't want any complication. And they're missing everything that's happening all around them with their government.
So they don't realize what is actually going on.
They don't realize what's happening. Canadians are very much, they're like an ostrich with their head in the sand.
Okay.
Do you, in Japan, do you have power of attorney? Do you know this phrase?
Power of attorney.
Yeah. Most first world Western our government knows that. The government realizes that the citizens of this country are not interested in politics and they don't care. So that frees the politicians to do whatever they want because the citizens don't care. I mean, most want to be left alone and they don't care what they're willing to give up just to be left alone. They'll give up their rights and not even care just so you don't bother them.
Wow.
Yeah. Canadians are pretty weak-minded.
It's very shocking for me. When we think about like average image of Canada, it's like a maple syrup and like lots of nature, like a beautiful place. But when COVID, what should I say? By using this public health emergency, a lot of the governments in multiple countries show their faces.
Yes.
And I was so surprised to see what happened in Canada. And
they lost their licenses and everything. And, the media has always attacked these people. So when I know when the media is attacking a doctor, then I want to know what that doctor is talking about.
I see.
Right? Because if the media is saying, go left, I'm going right. I want to know what's over there. What are you distracting me on? Because the media lies all the time about everything. Because especially in Canada, they're not, like our media here are three big media outlets here. The news is CBC, Canadian Broadcast Corporation, is a government-funded network. They get, I think, $1.4 or $1.6 billion a year to operate. They are the most pro-Trudeau, liberal, left-wing media that there can be. Then you have the CTV and you have Global. So those are the three big news organizations. They're all government-funded in Canada. They lie. They're state-funded propaganda. And it's obvious. Like, they don't even try to hide it. 20 people tested positive. There's 20 cases of COVID. Cases. Not hospitalizations, not deaths. Just cases. 20 people tested positive for COVID. Okay. I'm sure more people tested positive for the cold or influenza that day. But every day the media was reporting the cases, the cases, the cases. And then it would go from 20 to 200, and then from 200 to 2,000. And it was just cases, and they were terrorizing the population. And so for me, I was like, I don't care about cases. Did you report cases of the flu or influenza? No, you didn't before this. So why are you terrorizing, making everyone afraid of this thing? It's 4 years later, we all knew that this was a very bad cold. And if you had 4 or more comorbidities and you were above a certain age, people just stuck their head in the sand like an ostrich and didn't want to push back, didn't want to question it, didn't care. People like me, I wore the mask initially the first couple weeks, and then I said, I'm not doing this anymore. This makes no sense. It literally said on the side of the box where you buy the mask that it's not to be used to stop a viral transmission. But what it does do is it gives you headaches. It gives you, you can get like chapped lips, mouth infections, and it's causing hypoxia. I mean, you're not supposed to breathe that. You're supposed to breathe open, fresh air, not the mask air. So I said, I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. I'm not. And I never got a ticket or anything like that, because here, if you got caught in a business without a mask, it was an $880 fine from the government.
Customer or the store?
The store. If you went to a store and you didn't put a mask on in a public place, you could be given a fine by the police for $880.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could be charged with trespassing too. If the store asked you to leave, they could charge you with trespassing. Yeah. I never had any problems, but I stopped wearing the mask. Not long after they implemented it, I said, this doesn't make any sense. And I would go in and I would be nervous that somebody was going to assault me, and nothing ever happened. Nobody bothered. I'm 6'1", right? Nobody is going to bother me. And nobody did. But I heard a lot of stories where a lot of people would bully women in this country, but didn't bother to bully somebody who could punch you in the face, right? So this country showed an extreme level of cowardice that I didn't think was possible. Knowing what we know about tyrannical governments all around the world, Canadians didn't seem to be any different than the 1930s Germans. Yeah.